lotus, and in 2011 he wrote his memoir, Apprentice to a Himalayan Master, a yogi's autobiography. Yes, can you hear me now? Okay, sorry. Which became an instant bestseller. His transformational journey from a young boy born in a Muslim family to a living yogi is a fascinating story symbolized by single-minded discipline and dedication. Entranced by mystical stories of Sufi saints, he was not only drawn to the truth, but also the compelling landscape of the snow-clad Himalayas. At 19, he embarked on a journey to the Himalayas, seeking a true master. After traveling extensively through the Himalayas with his guru Maheshwarnath Babaji for a few years, his guru encouraged him to return to the plains to start family life and prepare for his life's mission. Over the years, his efforts as a social reformer and educationist have given rise to many initiatives, including Satsang Vidyalaya, Satsang Rural School, People Grove School, Satsang Swastya Kendra, and Manavikta Mission. Conversant with teachings of most of the major religions, Sri M says, "Go to the core, theories are of no use." His message seeks to transcend the outer shell of all religions by exploring their mystical core to nurture the innate goodness of every human being. The Satsang Foundation, established by Sri M, is a meeting point for spiritual seekers of all persuasions. The key objectives and activities of the foundation derive from the dual objectives of concern for mankind and the search for truth. He recently also completed the Walk of Hope, as you saw the video just now, a Padayatra for peace and harmony by the Manavikta Mission, which covered over 4,500 miles from Kanyakumari to Kashmir. The journey spanned 16 months through 11 Indian states, bringing together citizens from all walks of life. Traversing the varied landscape of India, it sought a significantly restored nation, fit enough to bequeath to our future generations. The Walk of Hope was flagged off on 12th of January 2015, the birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda, a great prophet of interfaith harmony. Starting from the Gandhi Memorial Mandapam in Kanyakumari, it concluded in Srinagar, Jammu and Kashmir on the 29th of April this year. So with that, we please welcome Sri M to come and light the lamp and begin the program. Thank you.
How many teas?
Just one. You want more?
No.
Okay. It's stuck. Okay. Oh, yes. Like.
Sure. First of all, let me greet you all. This is the way we greet in India. Namaskar. Today happens to be a very important day in the Hindu system of thought. It's called Vijayadashmi today, where Vijay means victory and Dashami means the 10th day. So this is the conclusion of the 9 days of worshipping the Devi, which means a symbol of universal energy, Shakti. And today is Vijay Dashmi, so I greet you all. Greetings come from me and from India to all of you. So I'm very happy that they didn't decide what topic to have a satsang today. When I came in, I got a little nervous because I thought there were double the number of people who were sitting. So let me start with a sloka from the Vedas, which is used before you start a satsang. I will try and explain what it means. This is basically a prayer to the Guru, to the teacher, who guides us towards spiritual fulfillment. So I'm going to chant it and then we'll start. Kandamandalakaram vyaptam yen characharam tatpadam darshitam yen tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Ajnanatimmirandasya jnananjanam shalakaya Chakshurmilitam yen tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma. I go down to the principle of Guruhood, which transcends the three worlds and is also available for us in this world. This is my free translation. I go down to the Guru, who is both the creator, preserver, and destroyer, which means all knowledge that I have acquired through the Guru has been given by him. The Guru has helped to preserve the knowledge, and the Guru can at any time wind up the knowledge that I have received, which means that there is something beyond knowledge, ordinary. Thank you. So, since there was no subject decided today, I thought I would take up something on my own. And I want to go to the great teachings called the Bhagavad Gita. It's interesting that the Bhagavad Gita, I'm sure many of you would know, forms part of the Mahabharata, the ancient, beautiful story of the Mahabharata. Part of it, which is called the Bhishma Parva, is where the Bhagavad Gita occurs. And it's called the Bhagavad Gita. You know, when you say Gita, in Sanskrit, a Gitam means a song. You can't talk a song, you can only sing it, the Gita. So it's called Bhagavad Gita because it's considered to be the song of the Lord. In this case, Krishna. And it's very important and very pertinent that somebody would say, why is it called a song? Why can't it be prose? Because when you read it, it sounds like it's just words put together. The reason is the truth that is described in the Gita as well as in the Upanishads and various other spiritual texts cannot actually be defined by ordinary prose. You know that there's something called a poetic license. What thoughts are expressed in poetry cannot really be put into prose. The poet describes, comes out of inspiration. For instance, English poetry. I always think about it because I'm kept on my toes all the time. I keep walking, I keep talking, sometimes I wonder if it's useful, but it goes on. And every time I think of these 4 lines from a beautiful poem, I am using this as an example because you can't really convey this through prose. You'll probably discover who the poet is. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep. Can it be expressed in any other way? Robert Frost. In the same way, the Bhagavad Gita is therefore a poem, it's a song of the divine. It has 18 chapters, and the great importance of the Gita is that it declares that there are different ways to find the truth. Probably it's the oldest scriptural text that we have in our possession, which declares that there are different ways to the truth. Like the story of the elephant, which we discussed yesterday. There are different ways of viewing. You may be right, I may be right. We could all be right, and in the absolute sense, we may be wrong. So this is the Gita. It has 18 chapters, and it is in the form of a dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. So therefore, a dialogue is so important. Krishna explains in his beautiful song what is to be done, and after listening for a while, Arjuna says, just a minute, stop it. I need to understand this. I don't get what you're saying. It's a beautiful dialogue. There is freedom to think, there is freedom to question, and therefore there is freedom to accept. This is the Gita. I said it's a song. It's also because you see Krishna as a teacher in the Gita. Not the other Krishna who is in Vrindavan with a flute and playing his beautiful song on through the flute. You know, the flute, you can't get any music out of a flute unless and until it's made of hollow bamboo. Can you think of a solid flute with wood? It has to be hollow, it has to have space, it has to be therefore made of bamboo, which is hollow. And when the divine music comes from one end, passes through the 7 holes that the flute has, and comes out as a beautiful song on the other side. You fill it with muck and you cannot hear any music. So it shows that the message of the Gita, in its essence, is a cleaning up or a clearing up of a mind, of its distractions, the ego, the anger, the jealousy, everything that is built into it. If you believe in past life, maybe for many lives. If you don't, at least in this life. If that can be pushed out, then you can hear the beautiful song of the Gita. This is the central message of the Gita. Now the other thing is, as I said earlier, it shows that different paths can lead to the goal. And third, this is also very important. According to the Hindu scriptures, when I say Hindu teachings, don't think it's kind of a denominational statement. I'm talking about this ancient culture which has started near the banks of the Sindhu River and has survived till now and is going to survive forever. Now, according to the ancient teachings, the most intellectual, or let's say the most logical understanding of the path to the truth has been expressed in the Upanishads. Upanishads are supposed to be the essence of the teachings of Vedanta. So much so that they say everybody cannot understand the Upanishads so easily because they are very on a high note altogether. And the importance here is that the Gita teaches the same truth which is in the Upanishads, in a very simple way which you and I can grasp. I don't know about you, I can grasp. So this is another important factor, the Gita. It also shows how important it is, because every teacher of Vedanta, whichever school they belong to, starting from Shankara down, have all written commentaries on the Gita, which means they think that it is a very important part of the teaching. The Gita itself says that suppose you imagine the Upanishads to be cows. Imagine the Upanishads to be the cows. And imagine Arjuna milking the cow. Nice imagery. The milk that comes out of these cows is what is enjoyed by the wise. And this is the nectar of wisdom called the Gita. This is how if you want the Sanskrit, Sarvo Upanishato Gao, Dugdha Gopalanandana, Partho Vatsaha Sudhir Bhokta, Dugdham Gitam Ritam Maha. Sorry. Arjuna is considered to be the calf. Partho Vatsaha means the calf, the young cow that hits the udder with its head. Yes. So thanks for the correction. No. I also need to be reminded sometimes. So this is the Gita. So it should be the essence of the Upanishad. Now, I said it has 18 chapters. Each chapter is an approach to the truth. And the first chapter of the Gita is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. It is a yoga of Arjuna's sorrow or disillusionment or indecision. Vishada can be translated in Sanskrit is such a language that one word may carry innumerable shades of meaning. But you can generally call it the chapter of Arjuna's sorrow or Arjuna's insecurity or Arjuna's indecision. And that's where it starts. Therefore, I think it's meant for all of us. Because at some point or the other, sometimes, most times in our life, we are in the same role as Arjuna. We don't know where to go, what to do. Should we take this decision? Should we move forward? Should we not? And sorrow is always with us. We may have a little joy, but just look around the corner, something is lurking out there. I'm not making you frightened. It's there, it's a fact. So therefore, one who begins the inquiry into the truth begins the inquiry because he finds there's so much sorrow here. There must be something where one can be free of it. Perhaps the truth will lead us to that. This is the intention. So therefore, the first chapter is the chapter of Arjuna's sorrow or indecision. Then Krishna guides Arjuna through the whole maze and comes to the next chapter, which is called Sankhya, and then Karma Yoga, and so on and so forth. Now, I want to discuss this is because when you come to the 12th chapter of the Gita, it's called the Yoga of Devotion. Now, you have to keep this in mind that every chapter of the Gita is called a yoga. Arjuna Vishada Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, Sannyasa Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, which means there are many kinds of yogas. Not only the variety where your head is down and your feet are up, but so many varieties of yoga. Yoga actually means the way towards the truth. It means to bring together the little eye with the big eye so that the little eye disappears and there is only the big one left. Yoga is also defined as chitta vritti nirodha, removing all the distractions of the mind stuff. So the whole of the Gita, starting from Arjuna's sorrow, is an attempt to remove the muck that gathers in our mind stuff and make it clear so that we, I won't go so far and say merge, at least we get a reflection of the truth. Let's put it that way, before we become too ambitious about it. So, this movement of the mind towards the truth comes through different chapters, and then in the 12th chapter comes a very crucial chapter which is called Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of devotion. Now, many people have this question: why would why would Krishna wait till the 12th chapter? Or if you don't want to think of Krishna, why would Vedavyas, who wrote it, wait till the 12th chapter to talk about bhakti? If it was so important and if it was so simple, why wouldn't it start with the first chapter? Now I'm going to look at this. We are going to look at the reason now. Why? As I said, the first chapter is Arjuna's sorrow. We are all faced with it. In fact, in Hindi, we have a beautiful saying, Dukh mein sumiran sab kare, sukh mein kare na koi. When you're happy, you don't need to think of God or truth or anything, just enjoy. There are pubs, there are discos, everything. It's only when sorrow strikes one that one begins to think, oh God, is there something more to this? Then you begin Simran, Narayana, Narayana, whatever you use. Vaheguru, Vaheguru. So, from there, why would one wait till the 12th chapter to talk about bhakti when it could have been done in the first chapter? If it is so important. I think it's very important. In fact, whenever people invite me to a new place to talk on the Gita, I insist, let's start with the 12th chapter. The reason is, look at it carefully. Till the 10th chapter, till the 9th chapter, it's a straightforward dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. Krishna says something, Arjuna says, okay, or he says, no, let me discuss this. Krishna says, meditate. He says, you're saying this, meditate. How can I meditate? I can control the wind, but I can't control my thoughts. How am I? And so on. They are on equal terms. First of all, they are of the same age almost, and they're great friends, they're relatives. So even though Krishna says, let me guide you into the battle, and becomes his driver or chauffeur or whatever, but they're good friends, at par. In spite of the fact that Arjuna knows that this man sitting in front of me may be my friend, but he's not just an ordinary, but it's still 1-to-1. Then comes the 10th chapter. Suddenly, Krishna, the charioteer, the chauffeur, changes his tune and suddenly starts saying that among the immovables, I am the Himalayas. Among the mountains, I am the Meru. Among the Munis, I am Kapila. Among the Vedas, I am Samaveda, and so on. Now, for a second, Arjuna is shocked. I thought this was Krishna, son of Vasudeva. My good friend from early times, we were at such close terms. Suddenly he says, I am the mountain, I am the Meru, I am the Himalayas, I am... So there is a little complete confusion and Arjuna doesn't know what's going on. And confusion is worst confounded when in the 11th chapter there is something called Vishwarupa Darsana. Suddenly, Arjuna opens his eyes and sees that what is sitting before him is not this son of Vasudeva, but something greater. Like the whole world seemed to revolve and come out of him. But it's a shock. So what's happened is, till this moment, logical, rational structures were being followed. Arjuna thought that he can solve the question of truth with his little puny brain. And then suddenly the shock when he realizes that all his so-called careful structural thinking has been broken to pieces. Nothing is left. How can this man be that which I can't imagine? All he can say is, oh, you are the ancient. Tvam Adideva Purusha Purana. There's nothing else he can say. Just all the ordinary constructs of his so-called logic are shattered. Then comes Bhakti Yoga. Then comes the realization, this instrument is good enough up to a certain extent, but not enough to find the truth. Then that's the only instrument we have. So the teaching after that is, allow that to settle down. When the narrow little thing called me, Arjuna, who is a powerful warrior and so on and so forth, when that subsides, when the mind is free of the ego of who you are, then a slight opening comes from which one looks at the infinite. If the finite could touch the infinite, it would not be infinite. It would be a conglomeration of finites. That's not the case. Perhaps when the limited is completely settled and at rest, perhaps the infinite manifests itself. So there begins Bhakti Yoga. When knowing that our ordinary ways of looking, the 1 plus 1, 2, in this it could be 1 plus 1, 10. It's not your ordinary logic. When that is not capable of touching that, which of course requires logic to understand, then the mind is ready to receive what is called devotion. Not the other way around. People think people who are idiots go for bhakti and those who are wise are Vedantins. The Gita, it is turned around very beautifully. Now in the 12th chapter, it begins in a very interesting way. It's a very beautiful question, which sometimes we all come across. Arjuna asks Krishna, some say that the Supreme Being or the truth is formless, shapeless, cannot be touched, cannot be understood using our ordinary mind. Nirakar, Nirgun, there are no attributes. Some say so. Some say that the truth can also be in forms, here as it is now, and can be worshipped in forms. Now, among the aspirants who follow this path and that path, which is those who think that the Supreme Being is formless and cannot be sensed by any shape or defined, and others who think that they can be defined in whatever shape we are familiar with, like Krishna or Brahma or whatever. Among the two, who according to you is the greatest of yogis? It's a good question. Actually a smashing question. And he's asking, he says, let it come from the horse's mouth. If you say so, I agree. If you don't, I can't. So tell me, in your own words, among these two, who is the greatest of yogis or who is the greatest of bhaktas, devotees? What do you think? Very beautiful. Krishna, as usual, instead of going directly to the question, here is someone who never does things directly. In the Mahabharata, it's a very lovely story when Krishna is going to Dwarka after the war, after the Kurukshetra war. He goes to say goodbye to everybody. People of his own age, he embraces. People who are elder, he touches their feet and bows down. Can you imagine Krishna, who is considered to be a Purna avatar, a supreme manifestation, bowing down and touching somebody's feet? We refuse to do that. Even if we are promoted 2 steps in our office, catch somebody touching the feet of the attendant in the office. Here is Krishna, who is considered to be, in the Mahabharata, a Purna avatar, saying goodbye by bowing down to the elders and embracing people of his own age. Anyway, that's not important. So he finally goes to the matriarch of the family, who is Kunti Devi. He goes and bows down before her, touches her feet, and says, Kunti, I am now going off to Dwarka. This is the right time. Do you need a boon from me? If you ask for any boon now, the right time to ask, I'll give to you before I go. Tell me. Very interesting. Kunti says to him, look, stop your drama, I know who you are. Too much drama is going on, don't try it on me anymore. I know what you are. I know you started the war. I know you won it for us by being on our side. I know all these things. But since you're asking me for a boon, I have only one boon to ask. Krishna says, what is that? Now this is terrible. Huh? Please don't think you're Kunti and ask for this. We are not Kunti. She says, bring all the miseries and sorrows of the world on my head. Would anybody ask? Anybody in the proper state of mind? You say, bring all happiness to me. Bring everything. Bring all the sorrows and miseries of the world on my head. Even Krishna is taken aback. She says, why? She says, because it's only in sorrow that we remember God. No, we don't. So every sorrow I'll call you by name. I'm sure that when I call you, come. No doubt. So what happens? Ultimate joy. Every time I call you, come. So I keep seeing you all the time. What more do I want? Please don't pretend to be Kunti. The moment a little bit of sorrow comes, then we say, no, take it away. So anyway, this is called Parabhakti, where the disciple, the aspirant wants nothing but the Lord. Full stop. We can't do, we live in this world, we need many other things. It's okay, that's fine. Anyway, so where did we stop?
It's the greatest.
Which is
greater? Form and
yes, exactly. I'm glad you're sitting here in front. Really, seriously. I tend to go off the track sometimes. So the question is, among these two, those who worship you as the supreme formless, and those who worship you as with form, as Krishna and so on, who among them is the greatest of yogis? Who among them is the greatest of devotees? So Krishna goes around explaining, saying that, well, there are great rishis who have worshipped me as the formless. It's a wonderful thing to do, no question. There have also been people who worship me in form, with form. Now he says, while great rishis have worshipped me as the formless, it's great, I admit that they are great yogis and bhaktas. But for the ordinary simple man, it's not so easy to suddenly leap into that which is formless. And he gives the reason. He says, we all live by form and name. In Vedantic terms, it's called Nama Rupa. We all live by Nama and Rupa. How do I recognize Patanjali? When I hear the name, I say, this is the form. Or I see him and I say, oh, this is Patanjali. Right? Unless my memory fails. So, name and form are so important to us. I know Wendy because she's here. I know the form, and unless you change your form, then I can't. So, in that case, to take a mind which is always caught up in name and form and trying to fix it on the formless is not so easy for most. Our great rishis have done it fine, no problem. Right? So I know people who say, no, we are not interested in forms. We are pretty advanced. We are up with this formless. I know. But even they, I'm sure, in the morning when they wake up and they brush their teeth, they're always looking at their own form in the mirror and wondering how many wrinkles have come, how many gray hairs in the beard. So we are caught up with name and form. Let's take it. Let's accept it. What will happen if we look at our husbands and wives as formless beings? So, Krishna says, it doesn't matter how you worship me. The mode of worship is not so important. You may think I have form, you may think I have no form, that's fine. But those I consider to be the greatest of yogis, those I consider to be the greatest of my devotees, Yaha Bhakta Same Priya, my dearest Bhakta, are those who possess certain qualities. Not the mode of worship, but the qualities. And if these qualities are present in somebody, attributes, I consider them, no matter how they worship me, form, formless, it doesn't matter. I consider them to be the greatest of my devotees and the greatest of yogis. So Arjuna, so what are these qualities? What are these attributes? The first attribute, according to Krishna, okay, I'm not saying anything, is Samnyam Indriyagramam, one who has his sense organs under control. Tall order. One who has all his indriyas under his own control, his sense organs. Normally, we allow ourselves to run away with the senses. We are not saying one should not indulge. There are needs to indulge in the senses, but the senses don't take you. You guide the senses. One who can control. Now, when you say control your indriyas, that includes hatred, anger, because all anger, hatred, everything comes about through the senses' desire to fulfill something. How does anger come? I want something. I desire something. Naturally, when I live in this world, with my sense organs active, exposed to so many things, I get attracted to some things. Especially in the United States, there are so many attractions. I get attracted. Well, in India also. There are any number of malls in India now. So you get attracted. And when I get attracted to something, I would love to possess it for myself. Now, if somebody comes and tries to take it away from me, I get angry. It could be a person, it could be a situation. I'm angry. This is how anger comes. When someone comes between my desire and I feel I'm threatened that this will go away from me, I get angry. And this is our life. Every day it happens. And you know what anger is? It's like a kind of madness. When you're angry, you don't know what you're doing, which means you have lost complete control of your sense. Where does it start? Desire. Sense. Indriyas. So Krishna says, one who has the capacity, or at least who tries to control his sense organs and keep them under control and not letting them loose and run away with you, such a person I consider to be the greatest of yogi and greatest of my devotees. That's point one. Point two, sarvatra samabuddhaya, which means one who can keep his mind equanimous and tranquil in the midst of all circumstances. Not easy. You know how our life is, it's a roller coaster ride. When some good thing happens, what I think is good, it may not be. What I think is good happens, then I'm on cloud 9. Suddenly when something happens which I think is bad for me, it may actually be good for me. I'm down in the dumps. It's my life. It's a roller coaster. How can we expect tranquility and equanimity in this? We can't. Krishna says, one who has equanimity, who has developed the capacity to remain quiet and tranquil in the midst of all circumstances, in the midst of praise and blame. This is a good lesson you can pick from the politicians. To remain equanimous in praise or blame, not a good thing to do, but to remain equanimous in the midst of sorrow and happiness, which means not to get too excited with happiness, not to get too depressed with sorrow. Because these are things that will happen anyway. They will come and go. You don't have to be caught up with it. In fact, in the next chapter it says, next sloka is Tulya Ninda Astutir Mauni. The great yogi or Muni is one who considers praise and blame as equal. In fact, I think blame is sometimes better than praise. Because with praise, it's like flattery, you get caught up in it. And sometimes you begin to believe it. If suppose every morning, early morning, 100 people come in front of my bed and put their hands up and say, "You're God," what happens? After 100 days, I begin to think I'm God. Praise, flattery. So, sometimes abuse is better than flattery. I'm not saying you should invite it. Very easy to invite it, throw a stone at somebody. A yogi is one who doesn't care because he knows that the peace and equanimity that one seeks is not in the outside world, but in one's own heart. You can't find it anywhere else. Second quality. The third quality that Krishna describes, one whom he considers to be the greatest of bhaktas, or the greatest of yogis, sarva bhuta hite rata, one who has the welfare of all living beings in his or her heart, one who has no evil intentions or evil thoughts for any living being, who has always good thoughts about others, and sarva bhuta hite rata, one who always thinks of the welfare of other living beings. Him I consider to be the greatest of yogis or the greatest of bhaktas, no matter he worships me as the supreme formless or as with form and bows down to me. The modus doesn't matter to me. The quality of mind matters. It's okay. Quality of mind, children will be children everywhere. So, this is the message of the Gita in the chapter 12 called Bhakti Yoga. And I think it applies to every single human being, cutting across caste, creed, religion, race, because we are all human beings. We have our own human nature. And if we can change our human nature and make it better, kinder, more compassionate, do good to others, keep your mind quiet, be equanimous in the midst of circumstances, then we are moving towards the truth which the Gita teaches. Thank you very much. So now we have some time which is open to questions. Uh, I would prefer that we stick to the subject on hand rather than ramble away uh, outside the boundaries. But anyway, we have some time, so yes.
When you talk about the description of qualities of yoga,
Holidays?
the qualities of the
Ha, ha,
that
ha.
you described,
Yeah.
I've noticed, like, I remember Sita Pragyasaka Bhaga and so on and so forth. Very many times in the scriptures, we describe the qualities of the person who is desirable or who is yogi is, but they never tell you how to get from point A to point B. How do you get from here to there? Because you keep describing, you get qualities, and they're unattainable, and you kind of give up. This is too much for me, right? That's how.
Sir, may I tell you, please don't give up. Uh, there are two ways of looking at it. One is consider these qualities which are described as those which one need to exert oneself to arrive at. And that they won't come naturally. I mean, because we are accustomed to living a life in a completely different direction, right? So they won't come to us naturally. There are some people to whom they come naturally, but I think such people have already in many past lives worked on it. This is what I feel, because I believe. I can't prove past birth to you, but I believe it. I can't put it in a test tube, but I know it. In my life, I have seen that it is so. So, therefore, for those for whom it doesn't come so easy, we should keep trying to get there. That's the best we can do. And be patient. Patience is of the essence. Feel, because, generally the mind is, most of us, the mind is extrovert. It's always looking outside. It's not introvert, except in rare instances. So therefore, try to give more time to this introversion. Meditation is basically turning the mind within. Now, but there is a silver streak here, which is once somebody starts enjoying the inner, even to a little extent, there is a great ecstasy inside. When that is tapped, when that is touched even a little bit, then it becomes easier to draw yourself out of this imbalance. The moment you feel imbalance, you withdraw into yourself. It's not a depression state, please. It's a completely joyful state. So I can only tell you that we have to keep trying on and don't let it go. Be patient till it comes. It of course helps if you have somebody who keeps tapping you on your shoulder and say, don't worry, carry on, don't give up. That's where the guru comes into the picture generally. But if the intention is there, I assure you at some point you're going to succeed. Don't let that intention slip away from you. Sir.
Thank you very much for this great guidance. You mentioned early on about the Kriya, controlling the senses. Guide us a little more.
Okay. Now the best way to explain this would be to go back to, like yesterday I was referring to the Jain philosophy. The very beginning of that teaching, which is of course there in all teachings, Sankhya, Yoga, Vedanta, is restraint. You can't start with cutting off, but you can start with restraint. Don't allow your mind to indulge in something too much. First cut down a bit and gradually keep cutting it down till you're kind of completely control your urges. That's what it means. It doesn't mean that you should be celibate. It's impossible, well nigh impossible in the situation in which we are to be completely celibate. At least attempt to not let your energy be wasted only in that process. That much is good enough. Same applying to food. The Gita itself says, this yoga is not for him who eats too much or eats too little or sleeps too much or sleeps too little. So we can definitely try to bring about a moderation in our lives. If we can do that, then I think we are beginning somewhere, moving somewhere. The idea is people say, why restrain? Why restrain? Because then you teach the mind that it is not controlling us, that we are controlling it. And then perhaps at a later point, it's possible that the mind stops worrying you and settles down. If the mind settles down with no ripple in it, and it's absolute quietness, in that depth we see the face of the real self which is in us, which is a spark of the divine and which is part of the all-pervading reality. And this is only till you begin to taste a little bit. Once you taste it, I'm sure you'll get stuck. Then you'll probably say, now how to get out of this? No, you won't, because you'll be enjoying. Too many hands. Sir, elder persons first.
I just want to ask about the practical. This
Can you repeat the
like
question?
Patanjali Yoga has said the steps, but to practically do it, that to realize.
The question is, I'd like to discuss the practical aspects of how to go about it. Well, I did give some practicals. The specific question was, like in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, step by step.
Kundalini, while Tantra and other places, they have different methods, but
So, sir, the thing is, there may be different methods to move out there, but all methods finally boil down to one fact, that our individual mind, which we have with our thoughts and who we are and so on and so forth, has to at some point settle down, has to be made quiet. Now there are ways of doing it. There are some people who have no knowledge or anything about these matters, but who are built in such a way that their mind suddenly is full of devotion. When a mind is full of devotion, then it is not distracted or disturbed by anything. So it goes on the track. While for most people that is not the case. So what do? We have to find means to bring the mind, which is usually wandering outside, inside. We have to. So there are many ways. The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which you mentioned, actually is the textbook on Ashtanga Yoga, the 8 angas of yoga, starting with yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So these are this. Now basically it means that you need to follow some rules and regulations. So as we discussed with our friend here, the yama niyamas boils down to this, that there is no excess anywhere, that we try to moderate our life and restrain ourselves from overindulgence in anything whatsoever. These are the yama niyamas. I'm just putting it generally. Then comes the question of asana, pranayama, and so on. Now, asana, Patanjali himself says, thira sukham asanam. Any posture in which you can sit comfortably for a length of time without discomfort is itself your own asana. That's your important asana. So sit in any comfortable posture, and then they come to pranayam, which leads you on to pratyahara, dharana, dhyana. Now pranayam, there are so many varieties of pranayam that one human being cannot practice all the pranayamas given in the Shastras. It will take 6 lives. So I'm just saying 6 in kind of figuratively. So we need to choose something that is simple and which we have enough time to practice every day, wherever we are. Not necessarily in a kutir or in the forest, but in the house where you live. So for that, the most important thing is to occupy your mind internally with something. You see, normally the mind is so occupied with externals and also on internals like worry, anger. These are internal. And outward, it's always occupied with the objects of the senses, which we know. So a mind cannot be asked to shut up. It's impossible. All you can do is to bring it, to get it engaged in something inside yourself, which is not to do with your emotions and your memories. And the ideal thing which has been figured out is the breath. Breath. So therefore, if you learn some way of coupling your mind with your breath, then it's possible to get your mind occupied inside, so that gradually it learns to come out of the outward problems and get inside. Once it is inside, then it's on a good track without distractions, and then the next steps come by themselves. So for that, there are many kinds of breathing exercises called pranayam. But the simplest one is simply to follow your breath. Yesterday also I discussed this, which means, breath is one of the most important functions and nourishment for our system. You can do without food for some time. You can do without water for some time. But you cannot do without breath for 1 minute. Finished. So breath is such an important part of our system. Yet we give no attention to it. From the time the lungs of the little baby starts breathing in the womb till it shuts up in the end, it goes on. We don't give it any attention. When you are upset, the breath is very active, very agitated. When you are agitated, the breath is agitated. When you are calm, the breath is calm. So the yogi said, is it possible that if your emotions influence the rhythm of your breathing, can it be that we can influence the rhythm and bring about a change in your moods? The other way around. If it this way, it has to work the other way. And they found that it is possible. And the simplest pranayam, which I can give to you without charging for it. It doesn't mean that when I give complicated ones I charge. That's not the meaning. What you can do is to just sit quietly, close your eyes. Anybody can do this. Close your eyes and just give attention to your breathing. Don't even try to control it in any way. As you inhale, watch your breath. Now my breath is going in. Okay, now you're exhaling. Now my breath is coming out. Follow the breath as you inhale and exhale. Don't do it on a full stomach, because the moment the mind comes, you might fall asleep. So this is a good thing to do in the night if you have insomnia. Have a good meal first, and instead of sitting up, lie down and watch your breath. Otherwise, if your purpose is to meditate, then do it before you eat and sit down instead of lying down, and sit in something which is not too comfortable. Otherwise, I know many people who begin to meditate and after 5 minutes say it's better to stretch and meditate, and then it's gone. So, watch your breath. As you breathe in, now this I am giving you, please take it, it's an important thing. When you breathe in and watch your inhalation, in your mind, chant the sound of hum, hum. And when you exhale, when the breath goes out, follow the breath and chant sa. Hum, sa, hum, sa. Inside hum, if you are accustomed to so hum, then instead of hum, sa, chant so hum. It doesn't matter. But just let the mantra go in with your breath and come out with your breath. Not loudly, in your mind. If you don't want a mantra, you can just watch your breath. In Vipassana, which is the Buddhist mode of breathing, they don't utter any mantra, they just watch the breath coming in. It's called awareness breathing. Be aware of it. Do this for 10-15 minutes every day, and gradually you will learn how to bring your mind inside.
one breath, Raman Maharshi also says that it is only temporary. But by the mind, controlling the mind, how do you do that?
Sir, my suggestion is try it out for a while and see if it is temporary. What Ramana Maharshi said was, everybody cannot become Ramana Maharshi, you see. He went in straight to the core by asking, who am I? Most people ask, who am I? Come out with the answer, I'm Bill or I'm Raghav or somebody like that. So, you go, not he. So go deep within. First, you have to come from outside to the inside, right? So start with watching your breath and going in. Gradually through practice, one would even get rid of that and be within oneself. But along with that, side by side, also make sure that in your daily life, live a life of moderation. Don't indulge too much. And don't suddenly start fasting. Then that's the best way to get away from the spiritual path. Because people have these extreme things. One day they are eating 10 meals a day, and the next day they say, I'm becoming spiritual, and start fasting for 2 days. It will break in no time. Because the mind revolts. A mind which was accustomed to 10 idlis and 2 bowls of sambar or whatever, suddenly breaking, I mean, it's not possible. So that's why moderation is so important. So gradually, by and by.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to know the events that happen in our life, the tendencies that we have, how much of it is shaped by our past lives, and how much of it is a conscious choice?
A good question, but the problem is, I want to tell you a little story. This is from the Buddhist sources. The Buddha said, somebody went into a mango garden to eat mangoes. While he was at it, somebody, we don't know who, shot an arrow. The arrow hit this guy. He's in pain, right? Now, when the arrow is in and when there is pain, what is the first thing to do? Is it to find out where the arrow came from, or find out a way to take the arrow out? So the Buddha said, if you are lying down with the arrow here and speculating on where it has come from, who has shot it, you'll probably get tetanus and die before we find the solution. He didn't say tetanus, I am adding that. So the most important part of this question which you have given me is, since we cannot tinker with the past, we cannot find out what, how and what, but we have it here. So can we find ways and means to handle it now, so that if you handle it now, 2 lives after, if you believe, you will not be sitting here and asking, why has this come? It would not have come. Get what I'm trying to say? So the most important thing is to find this out. And I'm positive that if you find out and get rid of the pain, and all the different systems of spiritual practice have been designed to get you out of that, then you would be developed and evolved enough perhaps to find out the source, not the other way around. You get what I'm trying to say? Sir? No, yes. Yeah. Because you put up your hand.
Okay. Happy Navratri. Happy Navratri. It's a beautiful time actually. We are talking now. The Navratri of 9th and 8th and 9th now. I wanted to ask 2 questions. One of the questions is like,
Can we stick to one?
The first thing I'm asking, because in Mahabharata, what we have is Bhagavad Gita. It's actually a Upanishad. It's said, Krishna told us But we got it to somebody given to us to actually given to there's 4 people now. The 50 guys who we don't who. When we are learning about Mahabharata or learning about Bhagavad Gita, it's better we check it who I am in this way. I'm in the Satsang state, or I'm in the Dhritarashtra state, or I'm in the Ganesha state, and I'm in the Krishna state, or I'm in the Arjuna state. I think that might be a good answer for everybody to ask what is that. I'm just accumulating some information from the world and just dealing with that information, with the information about the world today. Keep on accumulating information.
I will come back to you to learn this, sir. Some point. Thank you.
I'm curious, where you spoke about, Krishna spoke about somehow being in control of the senses, and I understood that as cultivating equanimity, and I'm just wondering, in the face of inequality and injustice, are we to cultivate a state in which we're not affected by that?
Okay. Right. So it's like this. The thing is, while we are cultivating equanimity, would we leave injustices as they are because we want to be equanimous and something like that? Now this, you must understand, in the context of the Gita, it's a battle between the good and the evil, or rather, a battle between those who are on the side of dharma and those who are on the side of adharma. And the very fact that in the Gita Krishna says to Arjuna not to run away from the war, but to stand in front and fight for the right, and at the same breath asks for equanimity. So it's not as if you're neglecting that and just remaining in a cave and trying to become equanimous. Equanimity is to be attained in the midst of this battlefield of life, not run away from it. So, from your point of view, if you think something is wrong, you should certainly try to put it right. There's no question about that. However, you'd probably be able to put it right if you have an equanimous mind, in a better way. When you learn self-defense, the martial arts, the important lesson that's given is don't strike when you are angry, because you might miss the place where you strike, because you're emotionally caught up. I knew a doctor in our home state who was a great surgeon. When it came to his own son's surgery, he decided to give it to some other doctor, because he thought, I'm so emotionally involved, I'm not equanimous in my thought about my son, therefore the surgery may not go well. Understand? So he said, somebody else better does this than I do. So I'm not giving you a ready-made answer, but this is food for thought. So I think about this angle also to this.
Sir, you started with Guru. How to, if you're looking for guidance and the real Guru out there, so, and you don't find this thing, then
What to
how
do?
are you going to progress, and how are you going to, and they say that when you strive for learning, a guru appears before you. So there's that saying, but yet you don't find.
I personally think
Can you
that
please repeat that question?
he said that you started with the sloka on the guru, and it is said that with a guru it is possible to move on the spiritual field. And there is also the saying that when you are ready, the guru will come. But if the guru doesn't turn up, what are we supposed to do? Put in a nut. So I can only say this, that in my life, when I intensely wanted to have a teacher, and when my intention for finding the truth was the most important part of my life, I had no other interest, then the guru did turn up. This much I can vouch for, that he did.
So I also had this experience, but after that I left in the limbo.
Why did he leave you in the river?
Everybody is gone and you are just continuing. How will you progress?
Sir, I am saying that if the guru has given you some instructions, and if you found somebody, you stick to it. Don't go around now looking for others. You stay with that.
The progress, you feel that it's not happening.
So let's put some more
It's
effort.
stagnant.
Let's put some more effort into it. Let's continue with it. Maybe the thing is, this is not such an easy thing anyway. See, what happens is when there is a teacher and when there is a lot of activity around, one is caught up by it and one thinks one is progressing. When that is out, then there is nothing left and one sees one is stagnant. So the main thing is to go back to this teaching, whoever you have got it from, leave away all other things. Stay with it. Now you can afford to just sit down and do only that. I'm sure you would have retired or yeah. So retirement is the best time to get into this. So I think you should pursue it more. It will happen.
Can I sort of ask you for guidance?
Us or you? Us or you?
I beg your pardon.
You said, can you guide us? We.
Can I ask you
Sure.
for guidance?
If you consider me, how old are you, sir?
77.
So if you consider me, who is only 68, to have the capacity to kind of help you out in some way, then I am ready to accept this. But you'll have to keep in touch for this. And since I don't live in the United States, I go away in a few days. So there are emails nowadays. There are emails. And you can get in touch with me. When I said females, I mean people who are traveling with me. And then we will work this out. And if necessary, I'll come and see you, or you can come and see me. You are most welcome to come to Madanapalli, where I live. It's a small village, not too far from Bangalore. You can come and spend some time with me, a few days with me, and see how it works. That's all I can say. You're most welcome. Thank you. I didn't get your name, sir.
वीरेंद्र सिंह.
वीरेंद्र सिंह. तो आप इनको मेरा ईमेल दे दीजिए. हाँ, तो फिर वो ईमेल से कांटेक्ट करेंगे और नरेश से कांटेक्ट करवाएं. और जब आप आना चाहते हैं तो ज़रूर आइए. बस ये देखना है कि मैं वहाँ हूँ कि नहीं. So check. I am very happy that you would come. Thank you. Online. 100 online questions? Oh, okay. But there are people here who are in front of us. Sorry, sir, I'll just check this.
So there's one question from Mr. Pankaj Kakkar. Question is, Arjuna and Krishna to aid in the search of truth.
Is Pankaj Kakkar has gone off his mind. Huh? What?
Arjuna had Krishna to aid in search of truth. You had Maheshwarnath Babaji. For us, is there any possibility to go beyond Arjuna Vishada Yoga?
You tell Pankaj that if he knows me for some years and if he still thinks there is nobody, there's something wrong.
So the next question is from Satyavadi. He would like you to say a few lines on Ramana Maharshi.
Enough. Two tremendous questions from online. One, of course, Pankaj, I'm sure he's listening. Pankaj, you don't have to worry because I'm there for you. I know him for some time, I think. It's a good boy, but we'll see. Then, about Ramana Maharshi, Satya must be listening somewhere so before I get caught. I don't know what to say about Ramana Maharshi, but then since the question is asked, and I think it might be good for people who haven't heard of, I'm sure many people would have heard. I have to say this, that Ramana Maharshi was unique in the great Vedantic teachers that we have had. Quite unique in the sense, one, nobody knows if he had a guru. He didn't. And he didn't make any initiated disciples. Right? And the organization which was set up was not set up by him. It happened because somebody else got together and set it up. And he was one person who I think started his sadhana all by himself. As we look around in his life, we don't see anybody guiding him. That's why I said he's unique in the history of these great beings, great yogis. And what happened to him was when he was a very young boy, I think 14 or so, one day he had a remarkable experience. When he was just lying down in his room, he felt that he was not the body. Now, people come by it through years of sadhana and meditation. Here, he did nothing. At the age of 14, lying down, he felt that he was not the body. He said the body is dying, they're going to take it to the cremation ground, so he lay down just as dead bodies lie down, like this, straight. And then he realized that he was separate from his physical body, and that his physical body was dead, but he was not that body. And then his rest of his life, his sadhana was to figure out, if I am not the body, then who am I? That was his search. Now please, everybody can't do it because we never get that experience at 14. One has to go in different ways. But for him, it happened. And then his next sadhana was he started going deeper and deeper into himself, saying, if I am not the body, then who am I? So after living years in this search, one day he figured out that he was neither the body, physical body, nor the subtle body, nor the mind. He was the essence, which is the witness of everything and which doesn't involve in anything. And in its essence, it's full of bliss. This was a discovery that came to him by itself. And for years, he didn't speak about it. He kept quiet. And most of his teaching was just sitting quietly. How long will somebody sit here if I say, oh, today's satsang is? But Maharshi, most of the time, he hardly talked. And the only little thing which I wouldn't say he wrote, which he dictated to somebody, was a little booklet which has come out in Tamil and English and world language translations now. The original title of the book was Naan Yaar, Who Am I? That's all. So this was Ramana Maharshi. I think he discovered that to find the inner essence, the main thing is to shut up. Because there is a story of a great teacher called Ganapati Shastri. Kavyakanta Ganapati Shastri was a great scholar of the Upanishads, Vedanta, Tantra. There was nothing that he had not studied. He was a Sri Vidya, everything. And yet he found that there was a barrier between him and the ultimate truth. He was looking for some. Nobody could give him an answer. When he reached Tiruvannamalai, Ramana Maharshi was not known at that time. Somebody said, there's a Swami sitting on in Skandashram cave. Just go and find out. Actually, somebody said, there is a Brahmana Swami sitting there. Go and find out. So he went up, and the story, as he said it, goes, that he sat in front of him for some time. Then he discovered that his eyes were open, but he probably didn't see him sitting there. His eyes were open, but they were looking out far and not blinking. It took him a long time. Normally people would have said, what is the use of sitting here, and gone away, but he didn't. Patiently he sat. After a while, his eyes shifted and fell on him. He looked at him consciously. So, and then he put up his hand and did like this, which means what? What is it? Why have you come? So the moment the question was asked, this Ganapati Shastri went on to a complete introduction of himself, which took quite some time. He said, I am so and so, I did this, I do that, I come from this family of Dikshitars, and I am this and I am that, and I have read this, I have done the Vedas, the Brahma Sutras, the Upanishads, the Gita, I have done the Tantra, I am finished everything at one breath. And then he said, now what else shall I do? There is still a barrier for me. Now what shall I do? So the story is, Maharshi smiled and said to him in Tamil, "Konja neram summa irukka mudiyuma?" Can you shut up for a while? So, and he shut up for a while, and then he got it. And he came down and said, why are you all wasting time? There's a great Maharishi sitting up there. That's how Ramana Maharshi came to become a Maharishi. Thank you, Satya. That's all.
I'm the brother of Shashank. With whom he had an opportunity to participate in your walk.
Yes.
Shashank.
I know Shashank.
Thank you so much for having me. So I think my question is like, Shashank and I constantly discuss this topic, and everyone knows this. Growing up in India, watching Ramayana, Mahabharata. The question is about dharma and about the Karam or Dharam, जो हमारे जीवन के दो में Karam or Dharam. So, does the human being gets the moksha? Everyone goes to Kailash at the age of 70, do the mantra around the Mansarovar and pray to Mahadev ki moksha jai. Or obviously Anna Parisam again, but he always gives a return ticket back to us. He's like, "Jao, we haven't done your karmas." So there could be marriage, kids, grown up, education, everything. Does it completely? Is it a part of our life? Dharam and dharam. And there is no other way, even if we fulfill all our responsibilities, what is the absolute guarantee that I'm not going to get a moksha or I'm going to get a moksha? Thank you.
This is a very complicated question, sir. I can only tell you this much, that karma, nobody can remain without doing any karma. Karma is the natural instinct of the human system to act. You can't remain, even if you want. You will be doing something. Therefore, the scriptures have said, do that which is good to others and good also for you to survive. This would be proper karma. It shouldn't be that because I want to survive, I will do karmas which are harmful to others. Then that kind of karma is considered adharma. And the karma which I do, keeping in mind that while I have to live, I should not also step on other people's shoes. And that if I am in a situation like I have a family and children, I will also look after them. Now that is called following your dharma. So karma and dharma, two. Now the question of moksha. Moksha means, the word meaning of moksha is freedom. To be free of bondage. Now, while you are still established in doing your jobs, your karma, your dharma, practicing your dharma, when it occurs to you that perhaps beyond this there is something, wherein I realize that all these relationships are temporary, they may go at any time, and then say, is there something which is permanent as opposed to the temporary things that I see? Then begins the search for moksha. Then we think, why am I caught up and bound in this? Can I be free? That is the beginning of the search for moksha. What moksha it is, nobody can say, only one who touches moksha. And unfortunately or fortunately, most people who have touched moksha have preferred to remain quiet, because moksha is not something which can actually be put into words. We can put everything into words, but that can't be put into words. So people have always said, not this, not this, not this. Shankara said, neti, neti. It is not this, it is not this, it is not. Then what is it? When all that you say is not this has been eliminated, what remains is that. It is moksha. So if you ask me, can an ordinary man with all his responsibilities find moksha? I would say that it has happened before and it can also happen in the future, because renunciation is not changing your clothes or shaving your head. I know friends who have shaven their heads who are not renunciants, or living in the forest. I mean, these need not necessarily be renunciation. Renunciation is the idea that comes into the mind when we say that however much we like to cling, that on which we cling is likely to go from us. So if that is the case, can I loosen the hold a little bit? This is the beginning of renunciation. That probably leads to moksha. Huh?
Would you say something about how we deal with regrets, things we've done in life that we regret, self-forgiveness, and so on?
I can't hear you. Okay?
I'm sorry. Would you say something about how we deal with things we've done that we regret, or how we forgive ourselves, or move through things that we've done?
I roughly got what you're trying to say. Let me tell you this. Suppose you have 20 years ago given me a sound slap on my right cheek. Suppose you have not. I'm not saying you did. Suppose you did. 20 years ago, you have slapped me. Now the thing is, the slap, the fact of the slap, how long does it really last? 10 minutes? Half an hour? Unless my teeth is broken. 1 day? Let's say 2 days. In 2 days, the actual fact of the slap is over. But is it over really? No, because it sits in my mind. Like a tape recorder, it plays constantly. She slapped me. When can I give her back a slap? It goes on for years and years till it becomes a festering wound. I'm not able to be at peace. When I think, the mountains are beautiful, it's so nice, it says, hey, she slapped me. When am I slapped in the back? You see this? So it's not the slap or what happened. It's that we are carrying it in our memory and stretching it forward and not allowing it to disappear. So the moment we think that is only a tape that is playing and the fact isn't there anymore, we have moved forward. You get it? It's a fact. I mean, this is what I'm saying is a fact. It's only the tape. It's over. We don't live in yesterday, we live today. What is here is the fact for us, not what happened before. But we carry it in our minds. So can we one morning get up and say, here, I open the window and dump the tape outside. Finished. I think 3 repetitions would help. I have tried it myself. And I think reasonably I have won. So don't carry the backlogs. See, when you go to sleep every day, it's a mini death when you sleep, right? Why? Because you don't even know that you exist. Do we remember that we exist when we sleep? Yeah, when we wake up, we remember it was a beautiful sleep or not a beautiful sleep. But while you're actually asleep, we remember nothing. We don't even know we exist. Which is why when we are deeply asleep, we wake up rejuvenated, because you don't exist during sleep. You don't know that you exist. If you don't know that you exist, then where are all the hurts and all the everything that has come to us? Nothing exists. So we feel rejuvenated. But the moment we wake up, we bring it back again. So can we wake up every day and think that this is a new day? Needs practice. I think we can get out of it. The other thing is a little difficult, which is if you have slapped me, every morning I get up and offer a flower to you in my mind and say you have done a good job. You have reformed me. Now this is difficult, it's not so easy, but the other thing is possible. One second. Okay, I can hear you.
Okay.
I'll repeat the question.
You are a very rare individual, and the number of people like you in the world is extremely small. So, given that, sir, you are a very rare individual, and the number of people like you in the world is very small. So, as this Kali Yuga progresses, can we expect people like you to keep coming and helping us?
More than that, I think we should expect more of people like me to be there. And when I say people like me, people like you can become people like me. I have no horns. I'm like you. So if I can change, I have this great faith that you can change. And if one person changes, it's enough to change a large number of people. So my hope is that sometime there will be more people, I don't want to say like me, but people who are different from the run of the mill. And every one of you has the potential to be that. You don't think what has happened before. Shut it off and say, okay, today is a new day, here I start. What can I do now? Then be good. Somewhere. Okay, I am told by my friend, who even though he is not a renunciant, shaves his head, that he's my guardian, I stay with him, that the program is about to be over, that we have to wind up, we have to go somewhere else. So this shall be the last question, sir. Thank you.
So what I have limited understanding is dharma is very personal, it's not absolute. And in cases where my dharma clashes with another dharma, I kind of say, okay, Yoga and resolve it. Where I face a challenge is when I'm in a space where there are two people, as just my children, or it could be somebody else, and when the two dharmas clash, and I'm not attached to any one particular dharma, so I cannot take sides. I do not know how to react or how to. What should I do in this? Because both are right and its own way. How to react?
That is called, you were not there yesterday, right? We discussed a teaching in the Jain system of thought called Anekanta Veda. It's called Anekanta philosophy, which means you can't say somebody is wrong. You know, that person may be right in his own way, the other person may be right in his own way. So what we can do in such circumstances, especially if it's within our own house, is that we can let them discuss the matter and sort it out without getting violent about it. That much we can do. Anekantavada means, if I look at an elephant, I may have my own view of the elephant, especially if I am blind. But the elephant is much more than my view of the elephant. My view of him will be only my view. He may be more than that, much more than that. Is, always. So therefore, to try to inculcate this understanding in the young, and if they are in your own house, it may be easier to do that than if they're outside. Right?
Adults is kids. With children, I can use my authority at points in time. But with adults,
Even with children, it's good not to use authority, but rather to get them to discuss the matter. But with adults, it can't be done in a day. I mean, you need to work on it and try to sort it. I'm sure you can. If you have resolved yourself the problem, then it becomes a little more easy to resolve it for others. If our problem has not been resolved, then it is difficult to get it to resolve. I think all change starts here. If I don't change, I really cannot make somebody change. It's very difficult. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And I know there were many more questions, but I'm very sorry that we have to go. My guardian wouldn't let me. Thank you very much, Naresh. Thank you. It was a beautiful morning.